Have you ever looked at a brilliant person, maybe a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, and wondered how they could be so bad with money? It seems counterintuitive, right? If you're smart enough to master complex subjects, you should be a genius at managing your finances. But the truth is, being book smart has almost nothing to do with being money smart. And today, we're going to explore why that is, and why it's completely normal. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a topic that affects everyone, no matter how high your IQ is: the psychology of money. We often assume that financial success is all about what you know. It's about spreadsheets, formulas, and understanding market trends. We think it's a hard science, like physics, where the inputs are clear and the outcomes are predictable. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? What if your financial success has less to do with how smart you are, and more to do with how you behave? Let's start with a fascinating story from Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. It's about a man named Ronald Reed. Ronald was a janitor and a gas station attendant his entire life. He lived in a small town, drove a used car, and was known for his frugal, unassuming lifestyle. When he passed away at the age of 92, his community was shocked to discover his secret. This humble janitor had left behind an $8 million fortune, most of which he donated to his local library and hospital. How did he do it? Not through some complex, high-IQ investment strategy. He simply saved what he could and invested it in solid, blue-chip stocks. And then he did the hardest thing of all: he waited. He was patient for decades, letting the magic of compounding work for him. Now, let's contrast Ronald Reed with another story from the same era, a man named Richard Fusconi. Fusconi was the opposite of Ronald Reed. He was Harvard-educated, a brilliant executive at a major financial firm. He was the kind of person you'd expect to be a financial wizard. He borrowed heavily to expand his lavish mansion, which had 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, and a monthly upkeep cost of over $90,000. He was living the high life, a testament to his financial genius. But then, the 2008 financial crisis hit. Fusconi, with all his intelligence and experience, was completely wiped out. The high leverage, the immense debt, and the lack of a safety net led to his financial ruin. He declared bankruptcy. So here we have it, a janitor who became a philanthropist, and a Harvard-educated finance executive who went broke. This isn't a story about one person being smarter than the other. Fusconi was undoubtedly brilliant in the traditional sense. The key difference wasn't intelligence, it was behavior. Ronald Reed understood the power of patience and frugality. Fusconi, despite his knowledge, was undone by greed and overconfidence. This brings us to our central point. Your personal experience with money shapes your financial decisions more than any textbook ever could. Think about it. Someone who grew up during the Great Depression will view risk and debt completely differently than someone who came of age during the tech boom of the 1990s. Someone whose parents lost everything in the stock market might be terrified of investing, while someone whose family got rich from it might see it as a guaranteed path to wealth. Our worldview is anchored by the experiences we've had, especially in our formative years. No amount of classroom education can fully erase the emotional lessons we learn from our own lives. A financial analyst can show you a chart proving that, historically, the stock market always recovers and goes up over the long term. But if your personal experience was seeing your family's savings evaporate overnight, that chart doesn't just represent data. It represents pain, fear, and insecurity, and those emotions are incredibly powerful drivers of our decisions. We all think we know how the world works, but we've all only experienced a tiny sliver of it. A person who grew up in poverty thinks about risk and reward differently than the child of a wealthy banker. Someone who has never had to worry about their next meal might not understand the deep-seated fear of scarcity that drives others to hoard cash under their mattress instead of investing it. Neither person is crazy. They're both just products of their unique life experiences. They're both making decisions that make sense to them, based on the mental models they've built. This is why you see brilliant physicists losing all their money on a speculative stock, or highly paid doctors living paycheck to paycheck because they feel pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle. Their intelligence in one field doesn't automatically translate to financial wisdom. They might be able to solve complex equations, but they might lack the patience of Ronald Reed. They might understand the theory of diversification, but they might be swayed by the emotional pull of a hot tip from a friend. Financial decision-making isn't done on a spreadsheet. It's done at the dinner table, in a meeting with a financial advisor, or while you're scrolling through your phone late at night. It's often a group activity, influenced by the opinions of our spouses, friends, and the marketing messages we're bombarded with every single day. And it's driven by a messy mix of pride, fear, insecurity, and optimism. So, how can we use this understanding to make better decisions? The first step is to acknowledge that we are all prone to these biases. Don't beat yourself up for making what seems like a dumb money mistake. You're not dumb, you're human. Understanding your own personal history with money is crucial. What did your parents teach you about money, both directly and indirectly? What were the big financial events that shaped your childhood and young adulthood? Recognizing these influences can help you understand why you feel a certain way about debt, saving, or investing. The second step is to focus on behavior over brilliance. You don't need to be a Wall Street quant to build wealth. You need to master a few simple, but not always easy, behaviors. Spend less than you earn, save the difference. Invest it consistently over a long period, and most importantly, be patient. Avoid the temptation to chase quick returns or make drastic changes based on fear or greed. The financial world is full of brilliant people who tried to outsmart the market and failed. The real winners are often the ones who stick to a simple, boring plan for a very, very long time. Think about consistency. Your savings rate is more important than your investment returns. Having a high savings rate gives you a margin of safety. It means you're less fragile and can withstand unexpected shocks, like a job loss or a market crash. A brilliant investor who saves nothing can be wiped out by a single bad month. But an average investor who saves 20% of their income will almost certainly build wealth over time, regardless of market fluctuations. And finally, let's talk about the goal of money. It's not to have the biggest house or the fastest car. It's not even about accumulating the most dollars. The ultimate goal of money is to give you control over your time. It's about having the freedom to wake up one day and say, I can do whatever I want today. That might mean retiring early, changing careers, spending more time with your family, or pursuing a passion project. Having enough money in the bank means you have options. It means you aren't forced to take a job you hate or stay in a situation that makes you miserable just to pay the bills. This is the freedom that Ronald Read bought himself with his patience and frugality. And it's the freedom that Richard Fusconi lost when his leveraged baits went sour. So, the next time you see a smart person making a seemingly bad money decision, don't be so quick to judge. Remember that their decisions are shaped by a lifetime of experiences that you know nothing about. And instead of trying to be the smartest person in the room, focus on your own behavior. Be humble, be patient, and define what success means to you. It has very little to do with your IQ and everything to do with your discipline and your perspective. True wealth isn't about what you know. It's about how you live. Thanks so much for watching. If this video gave you a new perspective on money, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that helps you build a richer life in every sense of the word. Let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway was. See you in the next one.